When Jack and Nora looked back, they saw the biggest, meanest, most horrible-looking bear they could ever imagine. It was the same one that had chased Jack through the jungle. They both ran out of Jack's room as the bear wiggled its way out from under the bed and tore after them down the hallway. Jack and Nora both screamed as they ran out the front door and into Jack's front yard. When they both got outside, they stopped to rest and catch their breath, wondering if the bear knew where they had gone. And after a few moments of silence, they heard a crash as the bear barged through the front door after them, leaving a trail of destruction behind him. Jack and Nora didn't know what to do, so they jumped into Jack's little car, and luckily, Jack's dad had outfitted this thing with a special battery that made it go way faster than most toy cars. So they peeled out of the driveway and down the road as the bear continued to chase after them. But the bear couldn't quite keep up. When Jack and Nora finally got far enough away that they couldn't see the bear anymore, Nora said, "Hey, Jack, I didn't have a chance to tell you, but I think there's a reason why you and I were able to get to the jungle underneath our beds." "Really? What do you mean?" said Jack. "Well, when I was in there, I just had this feeling that one of the animals in there needed us. Almost like the jungle wanted us to be there to help someone. I'm just not sure who or why or how," said Nora. "Well, maybe we should try to get back to the jungle and find out," said Jack. So later that day, Jack and Nora rode back to Jack's house, and the mean bear was gone. But they could still see the huge mess he had left behind after he broke everything in their house. Jack's parents were there picking up all the mess around their house when Jack's dad saw them and said, "Oh my word, Jack, you should have seen this huge bear that was here just a few minutes ago. I heard all this noise coming from upstairs, and when I got up here, this place was destroyed. I heard a loud noise coming from your room, and when I went in there, all I could see was this giant bear crawling under your bed. Do you know anything about this?" And Jack said, "Mom, Dad, there's something you need to know about that bear." And Jack explained everything that had happened the night before as he held Nora's hand and gripped it tighter. Jack's parents looked at the two kids with astonishment growing on their faces. "There's a jungle under our beds. That's where the bear came from," Nora chimed in. "We think there's a special reason why we were able to get to the jungle, and we need to get back there to figure out why. If we don't, we'll never know if or when that mean bear will come back," Nora said. At first, Jack's parents looked at them as if they were joking. But when they saw the seriousness on their faces, and given the fact that there had indeed been a bear in their house, they couldn't help but listen closely to what they were saying. And as crazy as the story sounded, Jack's parents, still in shock about what they were hearing, they agreed to support Jack and Nora on their adventure, but only if Jack's dad could go with them to protect the two kids. After all, as bewildering as the jungle was, it was also a place where some of the biggest and most terrifying animals you could imagine lived. So Jack and Nora excitedly started preparing for their next journey under the bed to discover why they were able to get to the jungle and what kind of destiny awaited them in this mysterious place. And as the two kids and Jack's dad started crawling back under the bed, Jack's dad wasn't able to get through because for whatever reason, he wasn't one of the chosen ones. So Jack's dad said, "All right, kids, you're going to have to be careful in there. I can't go with you. So if you're in danger, don't try to be a hero. Just drop whatever you're doing and run." So both kids nodded their heads and crawled back under the bed, where they were greeted by the familiar sights and sounds of the jungle. But this time, though, after they finished rolling and got up and started walking through the jungle, they were drawn toward a soft glow that reflected off the giant leaves of the tall trees. And as they walked further, they found themselves standing before a shimmering pool of light, where a magical body of water was sparkling before them like a cluster of stars. And at the other end of the small pool of water, they saw an old, tortoise and the tortoise started talking to them.
Greetings, children. What you see before you is the Pool of Shapes. This is a magic pool with special powers. Anyone who bathes in these waters will be transformed into an animal of the jungle. You are here because the jungle has chosen you. If you want to find out why you were chosen, you must become one of us. But I must warn you, enter these waters at your own risk. Once you enter, there is no telling what type of animal you might become.
And with a shared look of understanding, Jack and Nora nodded at each other, and they held hands and stepped into the pool together, and they felt a sudden rush of energy as their vision blurred for a moment. And when they opened their eyes, they were no longer human children. Jack had turned into a swift, sleek panther, and Nora had transformed into a graceful cheetah. And with their new forms, they could now communicate and talk with the animals in their own language, which allowed them to navigate through the jungle a lot more safely. And as they continued walking and seeing other lions and tigers and bears throughout the jungle, the animals didn't try to attack them anymore. They just looked at Jack and Nora as two of their own. And before long, they came across a large animal that sounded eerily familiar as they saw before them a growling, drooling, angry bear. And when it turned its head to look at them, it opened its mouth wide and they could see big, sharp teeth. And the bear said,
"Boy, am I tired. I need a nap after chasing those two kids around all morning."
And Nora said, "And why were you chasing those kids around?" Because Nora realized that the bear didn't know that they were those two kids. And the bear said,
"Oh, well, I saw this boy and he had his shoe untied. I was trying to let him know so he wouldn't trip on it."
"What?" Jack said. "That's why you chased a boy up and down a mountain and then broke into his house and destroyed everything?" And the bear looked at Jack, who he thought was just a panther, and he said,
"Were you watching me or something? How did you know about all that?"
And Jack said, "Because I am that boy. We just bathed in the Pool of Shapes and we turned into these animals. Why were you chasing us around and trying to eat us?"
"Eat you?"
the bear said.
"I wasn't trying to eat you. I was just trying to tell you about your shoelace. An untied shoe can be very dangerous if you trip on it and hurt yourself. I don't even like eating kids. I'm a vegetarian after all. I was just trying to help."
Nora and Jack looked at each other and had a hard time believing what the bear was saying. "Well, why did you look so mean and scary?" said Jack.
"Well, because sometimes I'm just grumpy,"
said the bear.
"You see, I used to live in the human world years ago, until one day when I discovered the jungle underneath my bed. As soon as I got to this place, I swam into the Pool of Shapes too, but then I turned into this bear, and I've been stuck in this body ever since. If I could only transform back into a human, then I could go back home to my family, but I've never been able to find where the Pool of Shapes is again. I've been stuck here for a long time, and I don't know how to get out."
"Well, we can show you where the Pool of Shapes is. We were just there. Right, Nora?" said Jack. "Sure, just follow us. We'll show you the way," said Nora. And so Nora and Jack led the bear back to the Pool of Shapes, and the three animals all waded into the pool. And just like before, they felt a sudden rush of energy and their vision blurred for just a moment. And when they opened their eyes, all three animals had turned back into humans. And it looked like the bear had turned into an older kid, maybe like 20 years old or so. "Are you serious? I cannot believe it. I'm finally myself again," said the bear, who was now just a young man standing there in front of them. And so the two kids and the young man quickly ran back to the tunnel that led to Jack's room, and they all rolled underneath and came out from under Jack's bed, where they saw Jack's parents sitting there waiting for them. Jack and Nora explained who the young man was, and the young man said, sorry about completely destroying your house yesterday. I was a little grumpier than usual." But Jack's parents didn't care. They were just happy to have Jack and Nora back, safe and sound, and to know that the big, mean bear wouldn't be back to destroy their house again. Because, after all, he had turned back to his normal human self again. And even though Jack and Nora's bodies had changed back to their original shapes and sizes, their minds were forever transformed. Their adventure had not only led them to an exciting new world, but it had taught them lessons that they would remember forever. And both kids knew there would probably come a time when they would find themselves in the jungle again, but that's a story for another day. Do you ever find yourself wondering when the next episode is going to come out for the Storyland Podcast? I know they don't come out as much as we all want them to, but if you want to be the first to know about when the next story is going to drop, all you got to do is follow us on Instagram or Facebook, or just go to storyland.show, and you'll find links to all the different places online where you can listen and watch, and even leave a comment and make suggestions about other story ideas that you might have. Just go to storyland.show, or again, you can follow us on Facebook or Instagram. Just search for Storyland, all one word, podcast. Storyland Podcast, and you should be able to find us there. Thanks again for listening, and I'll talk to you next time.